What's up, everybody? Welcome back to SLC Puck. I did the hand banging on the desk very softly today because my little nephew, who lives above SLC Puck Studios, isn't feeling well. He's taking a little nap, so I didn't want to wake him up. So that was why the intro was not as animated as it usually is. But I am excited, nevertheless, to be back. Obviously, missed Wednesday's show, having some technical issues here at SLC Puck Studios. So, first and foremost, I have to give a big thank you to my guy, Brian Brown, who is allowing me to borrow his Rodecaster Pro so that the show can go on without a hitch. And I appreciate you, Brian. You're the best, dude. Big shout out to Brian. Go ahead and follow him on Twitter. It's Brown Bear SLC. He is like the savant, the expert of all things Utah football. If you love Utah football, you'll love Brian Brown. You might already know who he is. So I'll just take this opportunity to plug him. Very grateful for him. Very grateful to be back doing SLC Puck. And, I say this every time. Things are growing. Things are popping. Things are happening. A lot of fun being had over here. Again, let me just plug the merch really quick. As always, this is how we make this thing possible. I got a nice little merch selection here for you. Stickers, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats. I don't know what else you could ask for. The tank, I think, is the item that I've been pushing the most, and it's for a good reason. People, you look really good in the tank. Like, look at my friend Josh here, who got a tank. Look at how handsome he is there in Daybreak, just enjoying a beautiful day with the tank on. That could be you. All you got to do is go to slcpuck.com, slcpuck.shop to get yourself loaded up with a tank. But let's get back to the business at hand. And there's a lot to talk about this episode here. We're at episode 29, Sunday, August 4th. Oh, man, you missed one episode, and the news just piles up on you. There's so much to talk about. A couple of stories came out of the Utah Hockey Club this week. They lined up an ECHL affiliation not with the Utah Grizzlies of the ECHL, but rather the Allen Americans. They're just a one-year deal with them. I thought the timing on that was kind of interesting. I think it suggests that perhaps after a one-year agreement with the Allen Americans, maybe the Utah Grizzlies will be in the fold. I'm sure that was something that was talked about, and just for contractual reasons. The Grizzlies obviously are the ECHL affiliate of the Colorado Avalanche, and I think they just they weren't able to swing the the affiliation over to Utah maybe in time. Just, contracts, they create a lot of red tape. But again, this has been my thesis for weeks now, is that the Utah Grizzlies will be brought into the fold in some way, just not for this first year at least. I do maintain my theory that the Grizzlies will become the Utah Hockey Club's AHL affiliate at some point, that Smith Entertainment Group will buy both the Grizzlies and the Maverick Center. That'll all be in the portfolio, right? So that's my thesis. I think we're at least a year away from that happening. But just know that when it does happen, you heard it here first, okay? But speaking of adding to Smith Entertainment Group's portfolio, this was something that was already reported but became official earlier this week. Smith Entertainment Group purchased in totality the shops at the Southtown Mall in Sandy, Utah. Ryan Smith is getting in the mall business now. And I say that because obviously it was reported that he's going to use a lot of that space to put 2 rinks in and the business offices for the Utah Hockey Club. But it was interesting, they put out a press release that sort of made everything official. It's not official until the team announces it, right? But it says here he bought the entire mall, right? The practice facility is going to be on the southeast end. And here, I'll just put this up on the screen for you. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, I say this all the time, flip over to YouTube. You'll see me. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll love it here. Okay, so this is the little map here that came along with the press release. Smith Entertainment Group officially acquires the shops at Southtown. You can see the Utah Hockey Club logo right there. That's where the Dreamskates, I'm sure I'm not saying that right, art installation currently is, but they're going to be kicked out, and a couple of rinks are going to be put in there for the Utah Hockey Club. It says here in the release that the rest of the mall is going to be, continue to be a mall, with Pretzel Maker, which is big for me, Orange Julius, everything we know and love about the mall, fans. I think one of the older fans locations is there. What else do people like at malls? those little animal things like that, or like the scooter things that you sit on, like they're shaped like an animal and you ride those around. So that'll be happening around the practice facility for the Utah Hockey Club for now. But here's my again, I wish I had my tinfoil hat on. Here, I'm gonna ask my studio audience to throw it over here. Just so you know, this is my opinion, okay? I am of the opinion that this beautiful property here, just purchased by the Smith Entertainment Group, will eventually become an all-encompassing sports facility, right? And what I mean by that is say, hey, look at all this space right here. It kind of looks a little symmetrical to the other side right here. I wonder if there's enough room for the Smiths' other team, the Utah Jazz, to put in a world-class practice facility right there. Wouldn't that be something, right? So, again, the conspiracy theory is that the Southtown Mall will just be the sports gathering place, and it's in a great spot. It's kind of like in the center of the population universe, I guess you could say, in the Salt Lake Valley. Sandy's popping. That's where like most people live. It's where a lot of kids live, right? So I think the thought might be you put the Utah Hockey Club there, a couple rinks for amateur hockey kids to play at, little youth hockey action. You also put the Jazz here in this place right here. I'm not sure I haven't been to that mall in a while. Is that like where Pins and Nails is, or where the round one, the bowling alley? Not Pins and Nails, round one, whatever it's called. But anyway, maybe they'll get the boot, and the Jazz will be put here, and then this whole thing is just sports. It's all about sports. I wonder if that'll happen in a few years. So stay tuned to that. That's me putting on the tinfoil hat. We'll see how it goes. But that was one story that I thought was noteworthy as well. Another story that came across the old news desk here at SLC Puck headquarters was that the Utah Hockey Club is going to do an analytics challenge, giving someone the opportunity to earn a paid internship in the hockey operations department. Now, someone who's done a lot of internships in the sports world, and I'll talk about that at some other time. I did plenty of internships in sports with the Jazz for a few years, with the Los Angeles Chargers, with the Salt Lake Bees, with the Salt Lake City Stars. I think I hold the record for most sports internships ever done without a full-time job offer, which is kind of funny. But so some kid out there or adult, who knows, like someone who's into math and analytics is going to get the opportunity to get one of these internships with the Utah Hockey Club, and it's going to be great. I think it's a really fun way to get people excited. Bill Armstrong, who I'm going to spend the majority of the episode talking about, by the way, has done a great job pitching this. He's like, hey, this is what he said here in the press release. We are excited to engage analytical minds through our Summer Analytics Challenge that provides the opportunity to become involved with our organization in a unique way. We look forward to seeing the great creativity and ideas challenge participants submit. Okay, I know I read that bad, but anyway, the idea is like Bill Armstrong, he's the general manager of the team. He wants kids, he wants whoever's interested to come up with a theory about hockey analytics. So look into the numbers. He said this on the NHL Network. He said, I'm interested in the numbers that win hockey games. And I don't know I'll be honest, I think the number of goals probably wins hockey games, but I'm sure there's more to it. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of math and theories come out of this. I mean, from what I can tell, the NHL does a really great job of generating statistics on, skating, shot speed, shot location, all that kind of stuff. Put it all together, you math nerds out there. Come up with something, send it to Billy Armstrong. Get yourself one of these fabulous sports internships that shaped me into the sportscaster that I am today. And hey, if you do submit a challenge, come on the show and tell me about it. Teach me something. Wouldn't that be something? But back to what I was just saying. I want to spend the majority of today's show talking about Bill Armstrong. Now, if you've been following the show the last few episodes, you know I've been doing a series called Meet the Team or whatever, right? I've talked about guys that I think people are going to want to get to know. I talked about Liam O'Brien, Spicy Tuna, who is definitely going to be the fan favorite. He's the fighter. He's the guy who rocks the mic. He's going to be someone who, people are going to really fall in love with, and he's going to be out in the community in a big way. I talked about Clayton Keller, who's probably the team's best player. I hatched a conspiracy that he might be traded to Toronto, which drew a lot of great conversation on social media, by the way. If you follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that. I threw that thesis out there. The discussion was good. I appreciate that. You're more than welcome to like, comment, subscribe, tell me I'm stupid, do whatever you want, doesn't matter, right? That was a good fodder for conversation there, I thought. But today, I want to tell you guys about someone who I have really fallen in love with as someone who is attached to the Utah Hockey Club. And I'll just say, I think I might have a man crush on this person. And the person that I'm talking about is none other than GMBA himself, Billy Armstrong. And look at there is so much to like about Bill Armstrong. And he's the general manager of the team. Let me just put this up right here. This might scare you. I hope it's not a jump scare. Whoa, look at that. This is the thing that's fun about Bill Armstrong is he seems to attract like kind of a cult following. This is from a Twitter account called Bill Armstrong's Burner, Bill Armstrong GM on Twitter. I know it's called X, but I'm going to call it Twitter forever. And this is kind of a meme they do after every, transaction the Utah Hockey Club makes. It's Dark Brandon for Bill Armstrong. It's him, just really showing his strength and his great ability as a general manager. But and that's just the meme, right? Those are just his fans talking about, what a good general manager is, and he is a great general manager. And let me just tell you a little bit more about Bill Armstrong, and you'll get to know why I like him the way I do. Okay, so I thought this was most interesting. We heard so much leading into the NHL draft and free agency about how Bill Armstrong had an affinity for, big defensemen, guys who had size, who weren't afraid to muck it up a little bit. And as I looked into Bill Armstrong, I'm like, oh, I get why he likes those guys. It's because he's one of those guys himself. Bill Armstrong is 6'5" and 250 pounds. He's a huge dude. He was a defenseman, drafted in the third round of the 1990 NHL draft by the Philadelphia Flyers. Never made it to the NHL, though. Kind of spent the majority of his time in the OHL, the AHL. I think he played about a decade in the AHL. His best season as a professional hockey player came in 1994, 1995. He had 3 goals, 10 assists, 244 penalty minutes in 75 games. Was a +16 on the ice, though. So he was an effective, somewhat quasi role player for the Providence Bruins of the AHL. After he retired, he went into coaching for the Bruins. He eventually became the head coach there for a couple of years, and then he coached the Trenton Titans of the ECHL. His coaching career was kind of never really kind of found his groove in coaching. So he went into scouting for the Blues in 2004, eventually became the director of amateur scouting, and then the assistant general manager in 2018. And then the next year, the St. Louis Blues won the Stanley Cup, and they did it with a team that was largely built very organically. So that kind of put Bill Armstrong on the map as someone who had scouted a lot of these guys, been involved with drafting them. He kind of became a hot name in hockey executive circles and became the general manager of the Arizona Coyotes in 2020, right? We all remember that year. But here's why people think he's such a great general manager, and the numbers speak for themselves. He did not have first-round picks in the NHL draft his first 2 years. He was given probably the worst roster in the history of the NHL. The Coyotes were in really rough shape. And every year that he's been there, they've gotten a little bit better. They've acquired more assets. They've got more prospects. He's done a phenomenal job as a general manager. And that's a pretty good list of reasons to like him, right? He's good at his job. If you listen to him talk to the media, he's really good at selling the Utah Hockey Club vision, what they want to do, what a great place Utah is. He's good at it, and it's needed because he's going to try to attract free agents or get guys excited about being traded here and being here for the long haul. He is selling the hell out of this hockey club. And if I were involved with the marketing efforts for the Utah Hockey Club, I would put him on everything because he's really good at it. He's really good at selling Salt Lake as a place. And there's just so much else to like about him. And what I really found to be the great source of information, especially this last week with everything we just talked about, with the analytics challenge, all that. he really did a great job of selling what the Utah Hockey Club is going to do and be. And in particular, he does a really good job of explaining what's going to happen to the Delta Center. Now, I'm going to play this interview that was on the NHL Network earlier this week, and you'll see what I mean here. And I'm going to jump around at certain parts of this interview because there's just a lot of good stuff here. Bill Armstrong, as I said, does a hell of a job selling this team. So let me just pipe this in here, and you're going to hear me scrubbing through the interview to find the parts that I want to listen to. So it might be a little annoying, but we'll just jump in. Here's the first part here. He's talking about the ingenious plan for the Delta Center, and I think this is information a lot of us are interested in.
Well, you do have some obstructed seats, but what they've come up with is an ingenious plan, and it's really going to make it a unique building. As at both ends, it's straight up seating. So each summer they're going to take it and carve out one end and rebuild it, and it's just going to be a steeper section, and then they're going to do the same thing the following year. So it's really going to be a unique setting, and they're going to raise the floor of the rink. Which will help out taking the obstructed seating from up top. So when it's fully done, it's going to be somewhere between 18,000 seat arena that has great seats, and it's going to be loud. So the Jazz, I think it's the loudest building in the NBA, and
we love to say that here.
It projects the sound down, so it's going to be truly a unique building. I think we're going to be one of the loudest buildings in the NHL, and they have a saying in Utah. It says Utah shows up, and they do, and it's going to be loud.
Yeah, so there you go. I got a lot of good information out of that. So because I've been in the Delta Center, I went to the open house for season tickets. I saw what it's going to look like. I noticed there are many obstructed seats, and I've kind of been curious, like how they're going to make this happen. Like, because I've always said they need to do like some sort of big engineering or geometry trick to get this to be, what it deserves to be, which is a great world-class hockey and basketball venue. It sounds like I love the way he explained it. I think by raising the ice level off the bottom floor a little bit, that could definitely solve a lot of problems that the Delta Center has. And so for me, it was really good to see that information. Again, I love that he bought into the narrative that we love to say about the Jazz here in Utah, that the Delta Center's one of the loudest places to play. People hate playing at the Delta Center. Bill Armstrong has fully embraced that, and that's become part of his messaging, which is smart, which I get. That's how we got to sell it for sure. There's some more good information here in this interview here. Let me scrub ahead here. He talks about the team building process that we can expect to see with the Utah Hockey Club. So I believe it's right here. Let's listen in.
They realize, hey, listen, this is a good point to be in. There's some good players coming in, and we're building something special here. We're one of the few teams that have salary cap room. We've got a good team on the ice. We've got probably the most prospects in the NHL and still a boatload of picks to come. So we're in really, really healthy shape as an organization. Now we just have to let that organically happen, and as we get better, it'll be time to sign some big free agents at some point in time, or make a huge trade to kind of finish off what we started.
There you go. Okay, so there's valuable information there because he's kind of setting the timeline for us to expect, right? I've talked a little bit about like potential trades, like how this team expects to get better, and right there he just sort of lays out the blueprint without giving too much away, right? And it all makes sense. Right now the team is being built organically for the most part. They have done a couple trades to get better. Mikhail Sergachev is probably the biggest example right now. But he's just telling you, he's like, we're building something from scratch, something that's together, unified, and you'll know when we're really ready to ramp it up and go for a Stanley Cup when we make a huge trade or when we have a big free agency signing. And it feels like he's pretty confident that could happen at some point. Like that is on his radar. Who that ends up being, who's involved in that trade, when that happens remains to be seen. But that's going to be the trigger. That's when we're going to get really excited about this team, is when they make this big move. So Bill Armstrong is sort of setting the expectation and getting us excited. But here's a couple other things I really liked about this interview with Bill Armstrong. All right, he talked about the NHL draft process when they were in the Sphere in Las Vegas. Obviously, Utah picked 6th. They picked right after Montreal. And if you remember watching the draft, it was kind of fun. Each team brought like a celebrity guest picker to help announce the team. for the Utah Hockey Club is Ryan and Ashley Smith, the owners. Hey, that's great. They should announce the pick for the first draft in franchise history. But before them, Montreal picked, and the person who announced their pick was none other than French-Canadian superstar Celine Dion. And we all know how that song in Titanic, My Heart Goes On, which I really love. That's a great song, by the way. I listen to it in my car sometimes. I'll admit it. I listen to like Wicked in my car. I listen to like all kinds of musicals. I listen to Celine Dion in my car. I like to get a little teary-eyed when I'm driving to work. What can I say? But Bill Armstrong was hilarious here. He talked about the experience of listening to Celine Dion announce the pick for Montreal, and I thought it was pretty good. So let me just share it with you guys.
Out who they were going to pick, which everybody was on, hanging on off their seat. But the problem for us is that you're so heightened, like a second goes by and it seems like it's an hour. Well, it was like 5 minutes long, what seemed about 5 hours to get the actual name, and we're just hanging off every word she says, and she's drawing it out, which was truly entertaining. But because she took so long, I think when she announced the name of who they were going to take, we just jumped out of our seats. we were so excited about it.
So I scrubbed a little too far ahead, but he talked about how he's such a big fan of Celine Dion, and he was like enjoying so much the experience of watching her draw this out and create the theatrics of announcing Montreal's 5th overall pick that he was literally on the edge of his seat, like, come on. Just the way he told the story was great. And I scrubbed a little too far ahead, but Montreal made their pick, and then, the rest is history. The Utah Hockey Club announced their selection, T.J. Ginla, son of Jerome Ginla, as their first pick. By the way, check out my Utah Hockey Club NHL Draft Party vlog. I'm sure you'll like that. I had a nice interview with a guy wearing a Jerome Ginla jersey at the event, so that was pretty fun. But again, Bill Armstrong's story on listening to Celine Dion, create a big scene before Montreal's pick was pretty good. So many reasons to like this Bill Armstrong guy. He's so funny. He's so just like straightforward and good with the media. And the last thing I wanted to do is to ask you guys to help me out with a little investigative work based on something Bill Armstrong says right here at the end of the interview. Now, obviously, at the NHL draft, he talked about drafting T.J. Ginla, after the fact. And he's like, as soon as we knew he was available, we knew he was going to be a Utah Yeti. And that created a buzz. I talked about it on the show. I'm like, did he accidentally spill the beans? Did Ryan Smith have to have a conversation with him like, hey, you just gave the team name away. What the heck are you doing? It just seems like that's the kind of guy Bill Armstrong is. Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of like, goes to the wind, just says the truth, right? Which is fun and really refreshing. But again, he talked about how he arrived at the theory that the Utah Hockey Club is going to be called the Utah Yeti. And so what he said was kind of interesting. There's a little detail in there that I want you guys to help me out with. So let's listen in.
Partial to, or that you kind of are a fan of?
I made this comment at the draft and it went viral. And I
Utah Yeti.
Listening to what the kids were chanting when we arrived.
Okay, okay, let's go back. You got to hear that.
When we arrived. So I chanting when we arrived.
Let's go back. Come on.
Names out there that
okay, listen to this. I was talking. There's an important detail here.
You kind of are a fan of?
I made this comment at the draft and it went viral. And I was kind of listening to what the kids were chanting when we arrived. So I don't really want to push it any way. I said the word Yetis and it went like viral. So I don't know where the kids listen. The kids are going to vote, whether it's the Outlaws, the Mammoths, or whatever it is. They're going to run away with this. They're going to have huge impact here. And these kids that are going to come in and watch, they're going to remember that. They're going to be our age one day and be like, I remember when we named the team. And I just think it was a creative way to do it. And I kind of think in my mind from listening to the kids chant, at the hangar, I think I know what it is, but I don't want to sway anybody. So
that's fair.
I think I swayed enough people at the draft when I had my opinion of what it was. So.
Okay. Did you hear? There was an important detail buried in there. Okay, so Bill Armstrong, he said, "Hey, I got to the name Yeti because that's what the kids were chanting at the airplane hangar when they greeted us back in April." Now, this is where I need your guys' help, okay? I love you, Bill Armstrong. You're a good guy. I can tell you're backpedaling a little bit, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I need to know if what you're saying is true. And so what I need from the SLC Puck community is a bit of fact checking on our friend GMBA. To anyone who was at the airplane hangar to greet the former Arizona Coyotes to Utah, I need to know, were the kids actually chanting Yeti, Utah Yeti? Is this true? Is this something that was being chanted in the hangar? Because if it was, then hey, that makes perfect sense. I get that's how Bill Armstrong would come to the opinion that that might be the team name, or that might be the one the community is most interested in. But if that wasn't chanted at the airplane hangar, he's telling a fib right now, and he's just trying to cover up for something by putting it on the kids. And again, nothing wrong with that. I'm almost metaphysically certain the name of the team is going to be Utah Yeti, but I just have to know if this story is true. Okay, so anybody who is there at the hangar, drop a note in the comments right now. Let me know, was Utah Yeti actually chanted in the hangar? Okay, I got to know, but it doesn't matter, because in any event, I love Bill Armstrong. There's so much to like about the guy. He's like so charming. He's got great hair. I would love to meet him. And I want to show you one more thing about that Bill Armstrong did that really endeared me to this guy. Because I have never seen this at any level of professional sports. This is not something that anybody in the NBA would do. And I think that's what a lot of us here in Utah are most used to, is people who work and do all kinds of stuff in the NBA, players, front office people, personalities, all that kind of stuff. Bill Armstrong did something that I have never seen anybody in professional sports do. And this was this last winter in Christmas time. This is the guys who do a great show down there in Arizona, the PHNX Coyotes podcast. And Craig Morgan was a part of this crew. I believe that's Craig right there on the left. But they've done a great job covering the Coyotes, probably for years, decades now. They've done a little bit of coverage of the Utah Hockey Club, but not as much, understandably so. I think this show's on hiatus while the team's been deactivated. But do you see where they're sitting right now? This fireplace, this dog, the sweaters. That's Bill Armstrong wearing a Christmas sweater right there. They actually were invited to go to his house to do a podcast episode. And I think that's so stunning and cool to see, because you'll never see any NBA general manager invite members of the media into their home to record a silly podcast while wearing a Christmas sweater. But it's so cool and so charming. That's one of Bill Armstrong's dogs. I guess he's got two doggies. One of them's just sitting. This whole scene is unbelievable. It's crazy. I have this on mute right now. But again, so look at Bill Armstrong just wearing this goofy ass sweater, talking to the guys, chucking it up. They're talking about holiday traditions right now. They get into updates on the whole team. They called this a fireside chat, obviously because they're sitting by a fire. But the whole thing is spectacular. To invite grubby media members into your home, to sit on your furniture, to wear a silly sweater, to show off your dogs, I think is so cool and so funny. And to me, that's it. That's all you need to see that to really understand who Bill Armstrong is and the kind of guy he is and the way he conducts himself and speaks to the media. The man crush is real, and it's totally justified. I am all aboard. I am all on the Bill Armstrong train. I'm not going to miss a single interview this guy does, a single media appearance. I would love to invite him to join me here at SLC Puck Studios for a little fireside chat. This thing that the TV is sitting on is a little fireplace here. It's not plugged in right now, but we'll get it plugged in for you, Bill Armstrong. You're more than welcome to join us at Christmas time to wear our goofy-ass sweaters. I think it's fun. I am all about Bill Armstrong right now. He is my new obsession when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club. And I think he's a great subject for this week's Meet the Team series. So anyway, that's a big tirade about Bill Armstrong. Again, I do love Bill Armstrong, but I do need the SLC Puck community to fact check him on that. Just because, again, I'm putting on the detective's cap, trying to get to the bottom of the Utah Yetis theory that I have. I'm almost certain that I'm right, but I think this will be a good clue to get into. But let's finish off this episode here by going back into our Hockey 101 segment. And again, I appreciate the feedback you guys have been giving me. It's been very nice, very kind. And I came to realize, a few people offered a couple corrections on my definition of icing. And again, I know what icing is. I played hockey. I understand the rules. But sometimes I do this show, I try to do it all in one take. And sometimes I get excited and I, forget to say certain things or I misspeak a little bit. And you guys have always been cool and understanding about that. So I appreciate that. But the definition of icing that I gave last week was a little bit half-assed. And so what I would like to do is do another half-assed explanation to create a whole-ass explanation. And so let's go back into the definition of icing, right? Okay, so again, let me just pull this up really quick. I don't have it ready. Oh my gosh, come on. Okay, so here it is. Okay, beautiful. This was the chart that I used last week to talk about icing, if it'll load. Okay. Yeah, you'll be able to see it. Okay. So again, here's the look at the rink, right? I explained icing. That's where the red line comes into it, right? The idea is, you need to skate past the red line and then throw it into the zone. You can't throw it into the zone from behind the red line. That becomes icing. And then they take the face off in the opposing zone. And again, this prevents like a team that's ahead. This is something that was done historically. I guess back in the day, if a team got ahead, they would just fling the puck down to the other zone to kill time. It was very frustrating for the fans. So they added the red line, they added icing, all that good stuff. But what I misspoke on is I said, this is sometimes done to create a line change. In the NHL, if you commit icing, you are not allowed to commit to do a line change, which makes perfect sense. They want line changes happening on the fly. It would slow down the game a lot if, every time a team got tired, they just hucked it down and, made a line change. To keep the game flowing the way that it should, they don't allow line changes after icing. And the other thing I forgot to bring up, when let's zoom in right here. So I showed off, this example here. Icing does not come into effect when your team is shorthanded, right? So if you're down a man, you have a guy in the penalty box, that's when icing becomes off the table and you see teams throw the puck down to the other side. The team that's on the penalty, or on the power play, I should say, will go down, pick up the puck again, and come up with steam down the ice. But if you're on the penalty kill, it's common practice to ice the puck, and you're not going to get called for a whistle. There's not going to be a face-off there. So those were the two details that I forgot. There you go. Now you have a whole-ass definition of icing. Take that to the books. But yeah, a lot of fun. Again, big thanks to my guy, Brian Brown, for helping me get the show back on the road here, back rocking and rolling. Episode 29 we just did. We're in the books here. A lot happening. The countdown is real. Today's August 4th. First game's going to be October 8th. So we got 2 months and some change to go. And again, I really appreciate you guys' support. SLCpuck.shop is the place to go for merch. Follow me on Twitter, SLC Puck. Instagram, same. TikTok, the same. Facebook group. Find all that stuff. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's fun to be with you. And we'll talk soon.